right, so before I began today, just wanted to tell you guys, remind you guys of the series right here. Again, you're on part 5 right now. Make sure to catch part 1, the origin of ball games and rubber making in America, really good information. Part 2, ancient sports of America, which is the origin of ball courts and ball games. All right. And then part 3, we talk about one of the oldest ball courts or the oldest ball courts in the Americas. You're going to see goes even all the way back to the mounds. Part 4 is, lacrosse, the racquetball games. It was so popular here. Great videos right here. A lot of good information. Make sure to catch that. After this, if you haven't, I got a whole playlist. It's called Ancient Sports of America playlist right on my main page. All right. So since we're going to be learning about hockey and its origin, a lot of the hockey games and things like that came out of the stick ball games or the shiny games, just like racket. We did a video on the racquetball, and it has the same kind of origin with the stick ball games and shiny. As you can see here, different drawings and depictions of them doing the sport. As you can see, so again, this has been a sport here in America for a long time. They were playing this again. We went over the racquetball, and they were playing, type of, field hockey on the grass. And of course, when there was ice, they'll do it on the ice. So First Nations, children, it says here, tree branch hockey sticks were the first people, again, in the Americas playing this type of sport. It didn't start over there in Europe. That came from over here. So again, there was games up to 100, 200, 300 people playing at once. I mean, these racquetball, shiny field hockey games here in America. So, it was more prevalent here. This is a true old world. We already know the origin of ball games started here, with the Hero Twins. We can go back all the way to the Hero Twins and even onto the mound builders. They had ball courts. We're just going to read a little bit about shiny and its history here in North America. It says here, Games of the North American Indians by Stuart Cullen. Very great book, part of the Smithsonian's collection, and they help finance this and do the study. All right, and I'm all the way in page 616 of this book. It has so much info, like 800 pages. Really good. We're going to start here. We're not going to get the whole part of shiny. We're just going to get a little brief information. As you guys can see, what was written before about this is shiny is especially a woman's game, but it is also played by men alone. Assiniboine, Yankton, the Mojave, the Wallapie, by men and women alone. Sauk and foxes, the Tigua, by men and women together. The Sauks, foxes, and Assiniboine, by men against women, the Crows. It may be regarded as practically universal among the tribes throughout the United States. As in racket, the ball may not be touched with the hand, but is both batted and kicked with the foot. A single bat is ordinarily used, but the maca have two, one for striking and the other for carrying the ball. The rackets are invariably curved and usually expanded at the striking end. In some instances, they are painted or carved. And it says here, shiny among the Arapaho, says the ball is either of wood, commonly a knot or a buckskin. The wooden ball occurs chiefly on the Pacific coast and in the southwest. The buckskin ball is generally used by the eastern and plains tribes and is commonly flattened with a medium seam, the opposite sides being painted, sometimes with different colors. The Navajo use a bag-shaped ball. The goals consist of 2 posts or stakes at the ends of the field, or 2 blankets spread side by side on the ground. With the Crows, again, a single post is used with the Menomine, the Shuswap, and the Omaha, or lines drawn at the ends of the field over which the ball must be forced. The Navajo, the Eskimo, the Omaha, and Maca. The distance of the goal is not recorded, except among the Miwok, 200 yards, the Omaha, 300 yards, the Mono, 1,400 yards and return, and the Maca, 200 yards. In a California form of the game, the players were lined up along the course and struck their ball along the line. The game corresponding with one in which the ball was kicked, struck, or tossed, played by the same tribe. The game of shiny is frequently referred to in the myths. It was commonly played without any particular ceremony. Among the Maca, it was played at the time of the capture of a whale, the ball being made from a soft bone of the animal. The shiny stick may be regarded as analogous to the club of the war gods. All right. So it's not just about a game. It comes from an origin. It has a purpose, and there's a mythology behind it and everything, an oral tradition behind it. It says here the Algonquin stock, the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and the Arapaho Reservation in Oklahoma. It says Mr. James Mooney describes the women game of Guga Hawat, Hawat, Ha Hawa, Hawat, Guga Hawa, Hawat, or shiny, played with curved sticks and a ball like a baseball, called gawaha, made of buffalo hair and covered with buckskin. Two stakes are set up as goals at either end of the ground, and the object of each party is to drive the ball through the goals of the other. Each inning is a game. Mr. Mooney gives the Cheyenne name of this game as Ohonistuts. So they're talking about the figures here, as you can see, the balls and the stick, the so-called shiny or hockey stick. All right, so these are just some more examples of the balls and the sticks they used. All right, just like the hockey sticks almost, right? It tells you here, shiny ball and stick, shiny ball and stick. Continuing, it says here, the Meno Mine from Wisconsin. It says Dr. Walter J. Hoffman wrote, the women formerly played a game of ball in which two sides composed of unlimited numbers would oppose each other. At each end of the ball ground, which was several hundred yards in length, a pole was erected to serve as a goal. Many of the players would surround their respective goal, while the strongest and most active women, playing about the middle of the ground, will endeavor to obtain the ball and throw it toward their opponent's goal. The ball was made of deer hair, tightly wrapped with those of buckskin, and covered with the same material. It measured about 3 inches in diameter. The women used sticks with a slight curve at the striking end instead of a hoop, as on the sticks used by the men. All right, they had the real ones. The game was more like the well-known game of shiny than anything else, with the addition of having to cause the ball to strike the goal instead of being merely knocked across a certain score line. The guardians of the goal were expected to prevent the ball from touching the post, and a good strike might send it way away over the active player's head, far toward their opponent's goal. All right, so that's interesting. So they had a goal, and they actually had a goalie. They had the point was to hit the post, right? They had to hit it right on the post. They had to be good at aiming and very precise. These were women playing this, right? They had a goalie and everything. So the info continues. There's a lot of good info in this book describing the different tribes. Just want to show you guys the images here. You see, they all had games. They all played around the same sports, the lacrosse, the hockey, the field games, the stick games, the dice games. We're going to get into all that. Archery, board games. Again, football, basketball, yeah, up in North America, yeah, for real. They were playing all these things. I just wanted to show you guys that they were doing the hockey thing, the field hockey and shiny and all that from way back. This is something that was originated here. I'm going to show you guys that real quick right here. Last one says Wichita Reservation in Oklahoma. They have a buckskin covered ball 4 inches diameter with medium seam and loop for suspension, and a ball stick 34 inches in length curved with a knot at the end. All right, it says that Dr. A.S. Gatchett has kindly furnished the writer with the following list of words relating to a ball from the Wichita language obtained by him in 1872. It says Kasins, ball, plural, Kasritsa or Irha Kasinsa. Kuyatsits, Kachin, Kakia T, Kasins Kuyatsink. Somebody catches a ball. And his Wichita Tales, Dr. George A. Dorsey relates how the first man, listen to this, darkness, who began to get power to foretell things after the creation of people, told the woman Watsikatsia, made after his image, that when he was about to go to a certain being, man never known on earth, he reached down at his left side with his right hand and brought up a ball. Listen to this. It sounds like creation. Listen, there's a woman made of his image, just like the story of Adam and Eve and made of his image, or even Hawa, right, in the wisdom in Proverbs 8, right there next to, creating together, right? Proverbs 8, man and female energy. All right, man never known. So he went down and reached down and brought up a ball. Then he reached down with his left hand at his right side and brought up a belt. Then he reached down in front, touched the ball to the belt and brought up a shiny stick. He took the ball, tossed it up and struck it with the stick. As the ball flew, he went with it Thus guided, he went to the place where he expected to find man never known on earth. Man never known on earth, the first man. The object of his visit was the power be given him so that there should be light on the face of the earth, and let there be light. You hear what's going on? Let there be light. This is same stories. You see what I was saying about plagiarism, and when we're talking about, yeah, it's called Bible stories now, but they originated from something. There's stories to that. Like I was saying earlier, these games have an origin. They didn't just start playing games for nothing. It comes from their own mythology, and it's all part of the creation story, as you can see here. All right, let there be light. He tossed and struck the ball again, but not arriving at the place, he knew he could not depend upon the ball. And so he took his bow and arrow and shot an arrow and flew with it. This he did a second, third, and fourth time, but without avail. Then he remembered he could run. He made one long run and stopped to rest. Then he ran again, and third and fourth time. He had made 12 trials and knew he was near the place of his journey. Later in the same narrative, it is related how darkness, arriving at a certain village, instituted a game of Shinny. All right, so let's get this. It says the crowd came, and he told them they were to have such a game as Shiny Ball. He reached down with his right hand on his left side and produced a ball, and then reached down on his right side with his left hand and brought up a shiny stick. These he showed the people and told them they were for their use. Then he commanded the people to gather just outside the village at about evening time, and then he set the time for play. They went as he told them. When they were all there, he tossed the ball toward the north and traveled with it. It went a long ways. When it lit, he picked it up and struck it with the stick and drove the ball back south. Then said that the point where he stood when he struck the ball would be called flowing water, right, where he hit it. Then he took the ball, tossed it, went with it, and again struck it southward. Where it hit was the second flowing water, or goal. Between these two goals or bases were level ground, and in both directions as far as you could see. Then he divided the men into two parties and placed one at each goal. Between these two parties and in the center of the field, he placed two men, and from each of the two parties, he gave one man the ball and told him to toss it up. As the ball was tossed, he told the other man to strike it towards the south. He did so and drove the ball towards his opponents on the south. Now they played, and the north side drove the ball to the south goal and won. Then they changed goals, and the other side won. Then darkness said they had played enough. Darkness. Right? So that's a Wichita mythology, oral story, legend of their, sport, shiny and all that. And it's very deep. It almost sounds like Genesis. It's very deep. All right. It says here, Dr. George A. Dorsey also relates that in the Wichita creation legend, the first man, having power to carry light, gave the man a ball smaller than the shiny ball. All right, it's all about sports. You see that? He told them this ball was to be used to amuse themselves with, that the men were to play together and the boys were to play together. Where whenever a child was born, if it was a boy, this kind of ball was to be given to it, that he might observe it and learn how to move around. The ball had a string to it. The farther the ball rolled, that is, the older the child should get, the faster it would move around. He went on and taught the men how to play the game, for the people were ignorant and did not know what the things were for. Finally, the men were shown how the ball should be used. He showed them the clubs for the shiny game. He told them they should be divided equally in the game, one party on one side and other party on the other side. Many were interested, for the game was new to them. Many of the men were fast on their feet. The game was to be won by the side that should get the ball to the goal first. Having power to carry light also told them how to travel with the arrows and balls. All right, so having power to carry light, that's his name. The one who carries the light, he's the one having the power to carry the light. He got the light. Man, this is deep. Oh, this is deep. All right, so again, get the whole book, check it out. There's so much good stuff we're going to go over here. I can go all day with all the mythology here. Look at Shiny Kiowa. Indians of both sexes were engaged in the game. It was the presidio against the mission. They played with a small ball of hard wood, which, when hit, would bound with tremendous force without striking the ground for 200 or 300 yards. Great excitement prevailed. An immense exertion was manifested on both sides, so that it was not till late in the afternoon that the game was decided in favor of the Indians of the presidio. All right, look at that. In North Carolina, another game is managed with a batoon and a ball and resembles our trap ball. All right, so many, different types of this shiny hockey, field hockey kind of game. All right. So again, there's an origin, to these things and stories and all that. They play it today. Their main, stream sports. People make millions of dollars off it, but it's an original American story. Another thing they hijacked. All right, now I just want to show that not only in North America, but this goes a lot, further back. I mean, the Mound people in Hopewell, they had games like this as well. They go really back. It happened in Mexico, as it says here. Ancient fire hockey makes comeback in Mexico. What they mean? See, this hockey, they're playing hockey. It says an ancient sport where players hit flaming balls with sticks in the dark of night is making a comeback in Mexico. All right, what are they talking about? They're talking about the pelota purepecha, and they kept the tradition going and stuff. We're just gonna go over here real quick. Ancient Maya world, and we see the picture here. What do you guys see right here? A couple colored tribes of America. This is the Mayas, how they drew themselves in the walls. All right, so again, we're gonna dodge the hijack, but again, we just grateful that people were able to keep the traditions going, and we're gonna learn that this is very ancient and it has something to do with you too. It says here pelota purepecha, literally a game with sticks. All right, in the Purepecha language is an indigenous Mexican sport similar to those in the hockey family. Hockey, all right, hockey, a common variant distinguished as para Rutaqua in Purepecha uses a ball which has been set on fire and can be played at night. All right, a ball on fire and can be played at night. Several practicing communities and about 800 players across Mexico as of 2010. It is one of the 150 pre-Hispanic Mexican games at risk of dying out, along with Ulama. All right, so they're trying to bring this back. The game, which originated in Michoacan, is believed to have been developed up to 3,500 years ago. 3,500 years ago, playing hockey, all right, in Mesoamerica. And something very similar to the pelota purepecha is depicted on the murals of the Palacio de Tepantitla at Teotihuacan. All right, Teotihuacan, they got it there in the walls. They were playing sports, they were playing hockey way back there. All right, just wanted to show you guys that. That's, even it goes way back. It's not just in North America or Canada. So again, we're gonna dodge the hijack, but this is an ancient sport. They were doing this in South America too. There was in South America, it was called Palin or Chueca. Palin, Chueco. So you see that? They show the Indians, playing the sport, as you see here. The Indians playing the sport, just like a little hockey. This is in Spanish. Let me just go to another article right here real quick. This is from the Catholic University of Valparaiso, Chile. All right, and it says the prohibition of Palin or Chueca in Chile in the 16 and 1700s. All right, and we're gonna graph all this. All right, we're gonna copy, bring it to Google Translate so we can read it. All right, and it says El Palin El Mapuche game. All right, the Mapuche are the indigenous people that are famed for this. Between two teams of 15 players each form two rows facing each other in the middle third of the court of a maximum of 200 meters long by 12 meters wide. Each team, it consists of a center player, 7 attackers, and 7 defenders. They hit a wooden ball, 5 centimeters in diameter with the curvatures of a wooden canes, approximately 1.2 meters long, held with both hands in opposition, as in hockey, all right, just like in hockey and golf. Both sides strive to raise the ball to the goal of the adversary. The Spanish conquerors of the 16th century christened this I play with the name of Chueca. They named it Chueca due to its similarity to peninsular games. It was practiced since the early 17th century by the Spanish Creoles and mestizos and sambos. All right, everybody was playing hockey, including women. At that time, the game was very rough, and it was very rough, and even women were playing it. Closely linked to rites, magical rituals, fasts and abstinences, healing of sticks and balls, indentations, invocations of spirit, chants, and rigorous physical preparation. In any case, the game was very attractive for the Spanish Creole peasants who began to practice it throughout much of the country. The exorbitant stakes caused violent clashes with sometimes very serious injuries. The authorities of Spanish and the church banned gambling in the 17th and 18th centuries for endangered the development of work and evangelization. All right, so I just want to read that again. This is another one of those games, that is ancient here. Let's just try to say it. The hockey Chueca game. The Chueca game. This is an old picture, but again, this is a history that they don't really tell us. The origins of, when we look at hockey games today, we think it's all just Europeans and cold places. No, it wasn't like that. It really wasn't like that, Again, dodge the hijack. This is a Native American sport. This is a Native American, sport. So dodge the hijack big time. All right, so again, that's the Chueca Palin game, as you can see here. All right, so just real quick, just wanted to add this right here. It says right here in the Atlantic, how is the Blackhawks name any less offensive than the Redskins? Like the Washington NFL franchise, the Chicago hockey team has a Native American name, but the history evokes is better worth remembering. So again, Blackhawks is actually named after somebody, right? They got this drawing here from George Catlin, but I'm gonna show you a different one that he also has. It says Hockey Stanley's Cup is from 2015. So Hockey Stanley Cup is now held by a team with a Native American name, the Chicago Blackhawks. Says here that Blackhawk was a leader of the Sauk people who were pressured to give up Midwestern land in the early 1800s. A treaty they considered unjust forced them out of modern-day Illinois and west of the Mississippi. Like many Indians who opposed land-grabbing American settlers, Blackhawk sided with the British in the War of 1812. All right, Blackhawks. All right, that's a hockey team and it's named after a chief. All right, this chief right here. Let me show you. All right, you see that? Let me just show you what it says here. It says Blackhawk, chief of the Sauk and Fox tribe. Portrait of Blackhawk, a prominent Sauk and Fox chieftain by American painter, author, and traveler George Catlin. From 1796 to 1872, he lived, traveling to the American West 5 times during the 1830s. It says here, in 1832, the Sauk tribe participated in the Black Hawk War against the United States, led by Blackhawk, who remains a cultural hero for Native Americans after the war. The tribe relocated several times from Illinois to Kansas. It says here, Blackhawk was captured after the war by U.S. forces and taken on a tour of eastern U.S. cities. So they captured him and they made him go on a tour. All right, you see, copper-colored tribes of America. Who's this? This is Black Hawk. All right, and now part of a hockey team in the NHL. All right, Blackhawk. Remember the ancestors, right? He probably played hockey or shiny really good too. We also have this encyclopedia that we've had around, sharing it with each other. Going around and looking at all the contributions that the Aboriginals gave to the world, and one of those things is hockey. All right, let me just show you. All right, so it says hockey field and ice shiny, right? Pre-contact, North American Great Plains, Plateau, Southwest, and Northeast cultures. Hockey is a popular sport currently played throughout the world by teams of players who attempt to knock a ball into the opponent's goal by using curved sticks. While modern field hockey, whose players are usually women, is played on a grassy field, ice hockey is played on ice-covered court. Both games are based on American Indian stickball, game called Shinny, all right? Which was played by tribes throughout North America well before Europeans arrived on the continent, all right? Hockey was created here. Hockey originated here. So when they're telling us
Boston Bruins. Bruin. No, I'm sorry. Bruin means Negro or black, so-called black, right? Bruin. Now we know why they named, where they're getting these names from. Remember, they do it in all these sports teams. They have a lot of subliminal names on this, and it's all usually indigenous names or references that they're using. Even the sport itself, it's indigenous. All right, so the first people that taught them to do this was Indians. So they're just mimicking, they're mocking really when they're saying Boston Bruins, because those were probably the Indians who taught them there. The Indians in the Northeast, in Boston, Massachusetts, and all these areas in New England is who taught them that. That's why, and they're naming them what? Bruins, right? Black or Negro, black, black. They probably try to make it seem like it's black bear, but they're just telling you right here where we just read that it means Negro or black. The dark skin, not an animal. All right, so let's continue here. It says frequently Indians played shiny on ice. All right, frequently on ice. The players used a wooden ball or one made of buckskin that could only be touched with the stick or kicked with the feet. All right, it was primarily American Indian women who played shiny. Occasionally, men, sometimes co-ed teams played shiny games. These original versions of field hockey were known by many names, depending on the tribe that played it, but they were given the universal name of shiny by early anthropologists. All right, that's what they were calling it, shiny. They didn't want you to know, so they saying it's the hockey, but the shiny. All right, an indigenous sport, American Aboriginal sport. It says the modern name hockey came from the Jesuit missionaries. All right, they came from Jesuit missionaries who observed Indians living in what is now Canada playing the game. All right, so the Jesuit missionaries were like having so much fun or entertainment. They were entertained. Remember, picture this. They're like, this is business. They're like, ooh, this can entertain our king and queen. All right, and they were already planning it right there. They were like, So they were so intrigued that you were ice skating. Hoquette. Now listen to this. Hoquette is the French word for a shepherd's crook and referred to the curved sticks the players used to propel the ball down the field. Hoquette. Although evidence exists that the Greeks and the Egyptians also played stickball games, historians have been unable to find a link between those games and the sport as it is played today. No proof that it's the same sport, but if they want to go ahead and try to say Greeks and Egyptians, or where were the original Greeks and Egyptians? Where is ancient Egypt? We're talking about Tamari? Are we talking about here, Little Cairo here, Memphis, the Mississippi, the mounds? Talking about Ohio all the way up to Wisconsin? What are you talking about? The Grand Canyon? So, don't even try that, hijack. Don't even try that, because at the end you're saying there's no link. All right, it's not the same. They learned it from us. They brought it over there, and they couldn't even mimic it right. There ain't no ice over there. What you gonna skate? What you gonna do? Hockey on the sand? Come on. All right. So I just wanted to bring you here. Again, this was the Encyclopedia of American Indian Contributions to the World. 15,000 years of inventions and innovations. We're gonna get all up in this book, and I haven't even touched it with you guys. All right, so we got so much info coming. All right. All right, so real quick, because you're saying, yo, Kurimeo, man, stop making up things. All right, so now we know that Bruins means, colored or Negro or black, right? And we saw that hockey was invented by Aboriginals, American Indians. We already know who the American Indians are. Now I'm going to show you who officially invented hockey or played it first. All right.
Getting to the root of black inventions, people talk about Black History and Black History Month and all that, and that's all well and fine. But I think that to get to the root of black inventions, one has to determine what white people love the most. Currently, there are two things young white boys historically like very much, especially after World War II. This has been ongoing over the decades. That's rock and roll and the game of hockey. This story began in Nova Scotia, by way of New York and the Underground Railroad especially. But during slavery, a lot of people don't know this. That's when the game of hockey was invented. and it started in Canada.
All right, so dodge the hijack, right? So that's what they're telling people, right? They're telling people. So we just went to the encyclopedia, right? We know hockey was started by the Aboriginals, the American Indians, all right? Maybe this person right here is not really informed about all, not going far back enough and at his time, and maybe he doesn't know he is the Indian, all right? Not slave. He's not a slave. He's a descendant of an American Indian, all right? I don't know if he knows that yet at this moment in time. I don't know how old this video is or if he ever knew or believed his grandma, or, I mean, maybe thought he was just part. I don't know, man. I'm just saying, dodge the hijack. Because he just said it was created during slavery times, but we know it's way older than that. All right.
When I was in high school, I marveled at stories about one lone hockey player that I would hear about every now and then, or an NHL. He playing for an NHL or minor league team. White boys in South Buffalo, they were rest assured that hockey was their sport. They were confident that hockey was their game. Now, little did I or they know that in the beginning, way before the NHL, hockey was blacker than basketball. So a lot of people don't realize it. I wrote some things down about that because I think there are a lot of things that need to be revealed that have been deliberately hidden from us.
All right. So hockey was blacker than basketball. Did you know that? Did you know there was a bunch of hockey teams, the first teams that existed? This is before even the NHL and all that started.
We talk about one black hockey player or whatever, or even back in those days an all-black hockey team. How about a black hockey league or leagues, plural? That's what was going on. You white kids, a lot of white kids out there, especially from Boston, who cursed and aimed racial slurs at PK Subban a few weeks ago, or Joel Ward 2 years ago. Both of them coincidentally scoring the winning goals in playoff games against their beloved Boston Bruins. These same kids would be shocked to realize that there were all black hockey leagues in Canada, just a couple hundred years ago.
All right. A couple hundred years ago? What are we really talking about when we're saying so-called black leagues? These are American Indians. You see, they were kicking ass. They were mad. They went to play the Bruins and the white people got mad because they lost, because these brothers were scoring. These American Indian Aboriginals were good at it. They were the ones skating. Just before you knew anything about fear and fear of water and fear of ice, you were trying out everything. Wherever region you were, you dominated and you became skillful at everything that was around you. All right, you became good at it. So if there's snow and ice, well, you dominated. You became good at that. All right, maybe even for survival. They were catching things and on ice, walking on ice, fishing, but it became a sport. This is ancient. Now he's saying a couple hundred years back, everything was black. All hockey was black. So-called black, touch the hijack.
And they would be shocked to view photographs and stories of the first black hockey players. By the time of the 1890s, of course, this is hockey as you know it started. Because that's when the bourgeois, Lord Stanley type people took over hockey. But before then, I would say the year 1815. The year 1815, you heard me right, around the month of October, that's the first recorded history of hockey being played in Canada. This was in Halifax, Nova Scotia. According to George and Daryl Fosties, they wrote a book called Black Ice. I guess they also helped put together an ESPN special on it. Hockey and black hockey and black history, they both parallel each other around that time. There is no history of hockey by whites or blacks before 1815. It started with black players from 4 families at that time during
during the fall of 1815.
All right, so again, we know it started with the American Indians, right? It's the American Indians that invented this, and it's the same people he's calling black. All right, so yes, it would be rational, it would be logical that it would be these so-called four people that invented it, right? Though they narrowed it to these down. Maybe they're the ones who just made it or patented it, or said, hey, let's make a sport out of it with the pale faces. Let's make a business out of this, right? Like, why? Because it's part of their historical tradition. It's one of their culture, right? It's part of their culture to play the sport, all right, with their family members and their friends and their tribes. Maybe that's how they settled arguments with other tribes, because that's what they did in Mesoamerica with their sports. All right, let's continue. Dodge the hijack.
The Corney family, the Williams family, the Monroes, and the Leals, L-E-A-L-E. Through much of the most of the Black Canadian history, this has all been destroyed, okay, or lost. Probably both. But this is the earliest. 1850 was the earliest history of hockey, and it was all black. Amazingly enough, this is something that needs to be broadcast repeatedly, because what you have today is a misinformation machine that's making young white kids think that that's their sport, that's all white sport. And oddly enough, you got basketball. Basketball is invented by a white man, but it's played mostly by African American players. Game of hockey started by escaped slaves.
All right, so let's dodge the hijack again. He said African American. Nope. Americans. American Indians, American Aboriginals played the game of basketball more. We know where the ball, the rubber ball and all that, rubber itself and the ball, and where there's ball courts and they played basketball, football, everything. I'm going to have a video. I'm going to show you all this, okay? This is part of real anthropology, real research, all right? We're not just making stuff up here, and it's not to disrespect this elder right here, but obviously, he's missing that information. And maybe I bet you if he knew, he would embrace it. He'd be like, wow, no wonder. He'll be like, no wonder. No wonder, it all makes sense. Doesn't it all make sense now?
Those slaves were they became more than just hockey players. They became activists, very bold, very aggressive activists. They not only invented the sport of hockey, they revolutionized it. From every position, the slap shot, everything, the style of skating, all of that. That was us. So we're going to cover this again in the future. But in the meantime, I just wanted to put that out there. Feel free to comment on it, your objections, and do research on it. Don't just give me some of your blurted out opinions without doing any any investigating. Google it, go to the library, find out about it for yourself. My name is Chris Stevenson. Thank you for watching Policy and Prejudice. You be safe.
All right.